Well, good evening. Well, I'm not sure what's good about it. It's dark, it's cold, and it's wet outside. And it's not a very nice evening. Certainly feel like winter has started this evening. But it's great that you've joined me this evening for our news programme. And we'll start our week as we have done the last few weeks with talking about the situation with coronavirus. The latest Public Health England figures for Dorset have shown a rise in the previous 24 hours of 77 cases in the Dorset Council area. The new figures bring the total number of cases in the local authority area up to 1,526. The number of recorded cases in the Bournemouth and Christchurch and Poole area, just by comparison, rose by 120 over the same 24-hour period. This shows that 2,876 people in that area have now tested positive for coronavirus. In total, 197 new people in 24 hours have proved positive for coronavirus. So just to put that in context, these rates are 3 times what they were this time last week. So it just shows you how now things are growing. And whilst last week I was reporting that we were very low compared to the national average, we are now rapidly heading towards it. On Thursday this week, I took part in an online meeting presented by Sam Crowe, the Director of Public Health Dorset, and Matt Prosser, the Chief Executive of Dorset Council. And they were telling us at that time how lucky we were still to be below the national average and still having some of the lowest rates in the country. But they very much urge people not to get complacent, and I think that is the message to share. And they said, although cases are now popping up in schools and workplaces, that most transmission of the virus remained within people's own households. And unfortunately, since that meeting on Thursday evening, the figures have increased again significantly. So I would urge you all to take care and remember those things of washing your hands, wearing a face mask and keeping your distance, and following the government guidelines about the numbers of people that can meet up, because it's these simple things that will keep us all safe. Other things in the news today, Dorset Wilts Fire and Rescue Service reminding people about how quickly fire spread, particularly if you're in a thatched property, following an incident on Thursday night, which affected 2 homes in the Pokeswell area. Fire crews from Dorset were mobilised to Pokeswell at 6:43 on Thursday evening after a kitchen fire in a semi-detached cottage spread to the thatched roof and to the neighbouring property as well. At the height of the incident, there were nearly 70 firefighters and I think 14 fire appliances there tackling the blaze, and people trying to salvage stuff from the property from the 2 homes. Station manager Charlie Pack, who was the incident commander, said the fire started in the kitchen of one of the cottages but quickly spread up into the thatched roof shared by the pair of cottages. As a result, both properties have suffered significant damage, and the occupants of one cottage suffered smoke inhalation and had to be taken to hospital. There is an investigation underway, but it does remind us about the importance of fire safety and keeping ourselves safe. In good news, hotels in Weymouth are preparing for an influx of visitors during the half-term week, after missing out over key months earlier in the season due to the pandemic. Venues are reporting that bookings are up and people are booking up fast for next week's bank holiday, obviously when the children are off school. Some hotels are already reporting that they are full for next week. I only hope that those that are coming to Weymouth next week aren't put off too much by the weather. As we will hear later, the weather is not going to be too good in Weymouth or across Dorset next week, which is a bit unfortunate. Now we're turning to appeal from Dorset Police. Dorset Police are looking for this gentleman. His name is Storm Darch. He's aged 25. He's also known as Storm look. He's wanted after breaching his court bail conditions on Wednesday this week. The public are advised not to approach him if you see this man, but to call 999. He is from the Weymouth area. He's described as white, approximately 6 feet tall, and of slim build with blonde hair. Police officers are appealing for help from members of the public to track him down. Tom Isaacs of Dorset Police said, "We have been carrying out a number of inquiries in a bid to locate Storm Darch, and these efforts remain ongoing. We have no information to suggest he presents a direct risk to members of the public. However, they would urge you just to call 999 and not to approach him if you see him. If you want to contact them anonymously, of course, you can contact them via Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111 if you have any information that they would be interested in." Okay, moving on to our first main story this evening. I'm sure you're all aware that there's something really, really important happening this week this weekend that we all need to be aware of. Yes, I hope you've remembered. It's one of those weekends when the clocks change, and this weekend, or tonight, the clocks go back. Changing clocks is often known as daylight saving, or British summertime, when our clocks go forward from standard time or Greenwich Mean Time to British summertime, and then later in the year they go back to GMT or Greenwich Mean Time. Have you wondered why we and many other countries across the world change their time twice a year? And have you ever wondered where it all started? Well, New Zealand entomologist George Hudson first proposed modern daylight saving. His shift work job gave him leisure time to collect insects and led him to value after-hours daylight. As far back as 1895, he presented a paper to the Wellington Philosophical Society proposing a 2-hour daylight saving shift. So it's New Zealand that it comes from. And considerable interest was expressed in Christchurch at the same time. He followed it up with another paper in 1898. However, many publications credit daylight saving proposal to a prominent English builder and outdoorsman, William Willett, who independently conceived daylight saving in 1905, some 8 years after the gentleman from New Zealand. He observed how many Londoners slept through a large part of the summer day. Willett also was an avid golfer who disliked cutting short his round at dusk. His solution was to advance the clock during the summer months, and he published the proposal 2 years later. Liberal Party Member of Parliament Robert Pearce took up the proposal, introducing the first daylight saving bill to the House of Commons on February the 12th, 1908. A select committee was set up to examine the issue, but Pearce's bill did not become law, and several other bills failed in the following years. Willett lobbied for the proposal in the UK until his death in 1915. Eventually, on the 17th of May 1916, the UK Parliament passed a bill to bring in daylight saving. So the whole idea was to maximise exposure to daylight at different parts of the year, in particular creating longer, lighter evenings in the summer, and of course in winter it gives you an extra hour in bed at night when the clocks change back. The common argument is that it gives improves economic output, saves energy, reduces road traffic accidents and crime. But critics argue that daylight saving is bad for our health, reduces productivity, and increases energy consumption. So one group says it gives us all this, and the other group says it doesn't. Did you know, though, a recent survey in the UK showed that 40% would like to scrap daylight saving, whilst only 33% are in favour of keeping it. And did you know that it happens on different days in the United States of America and in some other countries across the world? And in some countries they don't change at all. So I thought it was all to do with farming, and I was always told it was all to do with farming, but it looks like it was to do with bug hunters and golfers. That's where it all started. Anyway, there's a short video coming up to just explain a little bit about daylight saving.
We explain the time change. This is Ben. He manages a team and takes punctuality seriously. His work week starts every Monday with a team meeting. But this Monday, Ben isn't there. He arrives an hour late. How did that happen? Ben forgot about the time change. He wonders why there is such a thing in the first place. On the internet, Ben finds out that the entire calendar and timekeeping system is based on the sun's position. As the Earth moves around the sun, its orbit is not a perfect circle, but an oval-shaped ellipse. So our distance from the sun varies throughout the year. Depending on the Earth's position relative to the sun, the angle of the sun's rays also changes. That's why in the winter, there's less sunlight than in the summer. The Earth takes 1 year to complete a full orbit around the sun. As a result, the sun's position affects our daylight hours much more than the Earth's rotation does. In order to make the most of the summer months' daylight and bring energy use down, many countries change their clocks twice a year. In Europe, the switch to daylight saving time, or summertime, happens on the last Sunday in March. So that night at 2 a.m., Ben moves his clocks 1 hour ahead to 3 a.m. Standard or winter time starts on the last Sunday in October. So at 3 a.m., Ben will move his clocks 1 hour back. Spring ahead, fall behind. In the United States, the time change happens on the second Sunday in March and the first Sunday in November. However, large parts of Asia and Africa don't change their clocks at all. So across the world, there isn't one unified rule. But the time change also has critics. Doctors point to sleeping disruptions, farmers complain of reduced revenue, and scholars question the claims of energy savings. When the next time change rolls around, Ben will now be perfectly prepared. But as for the team meeting, to be safe, he'll reschedule it for another day of the week. And how do you remember to change the clocks?
Yeah, well, how do you remember to change the clocks? I must admit, I always rely on the media and the TV reminding me that it's due. But now you're all experts. You all know how the time of the day changes during the year and why we change the clocks. And you've all learnt it was forwarded by an entomologist and then in the UK by a golfer, and nothing to do with farming, although we're told that obviously farmers during the war found it very, very helpful. Most importantly, above all of that, is before you go to bed tonight, don't forget to put your clocks back, unless you've got one of those clever clocks that changes itself during the night. I don't know about you and what you've been doing this week, but I spent some time yesterday in the garden picking up some of the last apples off the ground, the fallers, and picking some of the last apples off of the tree itself. With today's weather, I'm sure any last apples that were on trees have actually fallen to the ground, and I suspect most of us haven't got too many apples left by this time of year. I expect, though, if you've got apple trees in your garden, like us, this year has been an absolutely bumper crop. And you've probably struggled to use the apples yourself and to give them away to other people. I know on Sundays in church at All Saints Church in Wyke, where I go, the number of people that have turned up with bags of apples trying to give them to other people. Well, a few weeks ago, we learnt that Michael Dilliston, who is actually the tower captain at All Saints Church in Wyke, has an apple press, and he's got a lot of experience of making homemade cider. So I suggested to Janet Hall that she popped along to speak to Michael and learnt about how to make cider and how he goes about it and why he started. So we're going to hear from Janet now.
Have you had a lot of apples on your trees this year? I wonder what you have been doing to use them all up. I heard that Michael Dilliston had been making cider, so I thought I'd like to go along and find out more about that. He told me how it all began.
Well, I went with my mother to a fruit farm when I was in my teens, and they had windfall cocks, 100 pound's weight of apples for £1, and even then that was a bargain. And I could afford it with my pocket money, so I bought it and took them home and tried to make cider with them. And first of all, I discovered that you can't squeeze apples unless you smash them up first, because they're just too strong and rigid. They're not like berries where you can just squeeze them by hand. So I used my mother's mincing machine, which was one where you stick the meat in the top and you turn the handle and it comes out the bottom, and I did that with all these £100 worth of apples. And then I didn't have anything to actually squeeze it with, so I put all this pulp in batches into a big pillowcase and squeezed it by hand like you were milking a cow. Not that I've ever done that, but I mean that's how I imagine it is to milk a cow. And it took hours and hours and hours. I think I was up there at midnight finishing it off, and my wrists and my hands just ached for days afterwards. At which point I realised that you need equipment to do it. So when I had a house of my own, I made a little press out of a couple of sheets of plywood and a card jack to give the press part. And I smashed up the apples in a dustbin with a long wooden fence post, which was great fun because you plump and it's splat everywhere, but you get to a lot of plastic dustbins like that. So, anyway, I did that, and then when we came here, I invested in an actual proper press, because there's a limit to how much oomph you can get out of a card jack and a couple of bits of plywood. I was always afraid the thing was going to explode. So I got this little press from a place in Somerset, and it's also got a thing on the top. You'll see it in a minute. It's got a thing to mash the apples up first, and then they fall through into the press. You have to cut them up, because if you try to stick one of these things inside, even that thing which has got quite big teeth, it's just too big. So they need to be a size that the middle thing on top can handle. Alright, I'll do a batch. Cut them all up. Stick them in this hopper. Oh, have a look at the hopper. It's got these counter-rotating cog teeth at the bottom which eat the apples. So the bag isn't actually necessary, but it's easier to get the apple out of the thing afterwards if it's in a bag. Right, so this is the pressy part. The thing goes down properly. That's it. To get all of the juice out of there, probably you're looking at at least a couple of hours, and sometimes I leave it overnight if I'm trying to get the really last bit out. Things about these apples, particular apples, is that they are very hard to demolish. You leave it, once it's full up, you put some yeast in if you're going to, and then after a couple of days it will start to ferment, and loads of gunge will come out of the top, which is all of this fibrousy stuff that's not being taken out by the muslin, and any old bits that are falling in as well. It all comes up to the top, and you clean it off and put the cotton wool back in, and after a couple of days that's settled down, you put an airlock in the top. And then leave it in a cold place until you can't resist it any longer. That's basically it. Really. That's all I do. Other people do more fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But that's what I do.
Thank you very much, Michael, and cheers.
What I don't know from Janet, because I haven't asked her yet, is whether she actually did get to taste some of Michael's homemade cider. But it looks fun, and it's actually inspired us to think that maybe next year at harvest time that we should have locally a cider making day where everybody brings their apples, the spare apples together, and we get together, we chop them up, and we squeeze them, and we make some White Regis cider. I think it would make a good community activity, and it would stop people wasting the apples, and obviously a nice healthy local drink that everybody can have some pleasure of a few weeks or months later. We didn't find out from Michael how long it actually takes. I must ask him when I see him. But thank you to Janet and Michael, and what a nice looking cider press he's got. When he said he had a cider press, I thought it was going to be some sort of Mickey Mouse thing, but that looks actually very, very professional mincer and cider press. So yeah, very interesting. Thank you. We come to that time of the programme where I play my dodgy birthday jingle. And there we go, it actually worked okay this week. And we have 3 birthdays, 3 people to say a very happy birthday to this week. We've got Frank Tuff, whose birthday is tomorrow. We've got Duncan Honeyborn on Tuesday. And we've got Derek Griffin on Friday, if I've worked everything out okay. I hope I haven't got any of those wrong, and I apologise if I have. But I think it's Frank tomorrow, Duncan Honeyborn on Tuesday, and Derek Griffin on Friday. And we wish them all a very, very happy birthday this week. And I'm sorry that the weather's not that good for you. Also this week, we've had some very exciting news for those interested in science and space exploration, when NASA's OSIRIS-REx, I think that's how you say it, spacecraft, which has been travelling for almost 2 years and 1.1 billion miles through space, approached the asteroid Bennu. Then we heard how it had landed and taken a sample and taken off again. And the latest news, which was late last night, is that OSIRIS-REx has captured more than enough material to meet its mission objectives. And it's now focused on stowing that safely and its return journey back to Earth for a landing in 2023. Bennu, that's the asteroid, is thought to be a fragment left over from the formation of the solar system 4.6 billion years ago. It's hoped that studying the asteroid can offer a glimpse of when our own planet was developing. Currently, all scientists have to work on in terms of asteroids and that sort of thing is remote observations of asteroids using telescopes and the meteors that have made it to Earth. Scientists are actually trying to match the asteroids to the meteors they originated from. By the landing on Bennu, taking a physical sample and then returning it to Earth, researchers will have the best picture yet as to where the meteors and their parent asteroids originated. And what a fantastic first this has been. So far, everything has gone to plan, and all that is left now is for the craft to get back to the Earth in a couple of years' time. Well, NASA have provided lots and lots of material, video material, photographs for people to look at. And I've been having some fun looking through and finding something appropriate to select to share with you this evening. So we've got a short video from NASA that explains basically the mission. So it does talk about the mission in the future, but I thought actually it was probably the best and most concise bit of video to share with you tonight about what it's all been about.
In December 2018, after traveling for 2 years, 101 days, In over 1.2 billion miles, NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft arrived at its target, near-Earth asteroid Bennu. OSIRIS-REx is the first mission to explore this primitive remnant from the origins of the solar system, designed to study the asteroid and return a sample to Earth. Bennu is a dark, diminutive world, roughly the height of a skyscraper, and now the smallest body to be orbited by a spacecraft. Prior to arrival, it was known to have low thermal inertia, a characteristic of fine-grained materials like sand. An infrared spectrometer on OSIRIS-REx confirmed this property, leading scientists to expect a predominantly smooth surface. But the first close-up views of Bennu delivered a major surprise. In exquisite detail, the mission's cameras revealed an unrelenting rockscape dominated by boulders. By combining these images from OSIRIS-REx with its laser altimetry data, we can take a tour of Bennu's remarkable terrain. The first stop is Simurgh Saxum. This prominent boulder defines the asteroid's prime meridian and serves as the basis of its coordinate system. In Persian mythology, the Simurgh is a large and benevolent bird and the possessor of all knowledge. Saxum is Latin for stone. To the northeast lies the largest boulder on Bennu. Measuring over 300 feet in length, Rock Saxum is a colossus longer than a football field. It is also rich in a type of iron oxide called magnetite, which was used by mariners as an early form of magnetic compass. In Arab folklore, the rock is an enormous bird of prey that can clasp elephants in its talons, as well as stranded sailors like the hero Sinbad. Continuing northeast over the equatorial ridge, we arrive at Gargoyle Saxum. This striking boulder is among the darkest on Bennu, though it clutches a much brighter rock that is about the size of a person. In medieval legend, gargoyles are dragon-like, winged monsters that can breathe fire and that guard cathedrals from evil spirits. Our next destination takes us far to the east. At the northern end of a small crater lies Ocypete Saxum, a comparatively bright boulder measuring about 33 feet in diameter. Ocypete Saxum is located near one of 3 sites where Bennu ejected small particles into space in early 2019, displaying its dynamic and evolving nature. In Greek mythology, Ocypete is one of the 3 harpies, the half-maiden, half-bird personifications of storm winds, who would carry evildoers away from the earth. In the creation stories of ancient Egypt, the universe began as a formless, endless expanse of water. From this primordial sea arose the primordial mound, Benben. It was upon this rock that the god Atum settled in the form of the Bennu bird and sent forth the call that shaped creation. The story of Benben harkens to the mounds of fertile silt that once emerged from the receding floodwaters of the Nile, and it provides a fitting namesake for the tallest boulder on Bennu. Protruding by over 70 feet, Benben Saxum is so tall that it was first detected from Earth. Now, we can appreciate this monumental feature in detail using data from OSIRIS-REx. The final stop on our tour is a cluster of exceptionally bright boulders scattered across the southern hemisphere. They bear the spectral fingerprint of pyroxene, a mineral found in igneous rock that is unlikely to have formed on Bennu. These boulders most likely originated on the large asteroid Vesta and were delivered to Bennu's parent body through meteoroid impacts. Although it is small in size, asteroid Bennu has proved to be a fascinating world, abundant in geographic features that have defied our expectations. Thanks to OSIRIS-REx, we can now explore Bennu to uncover its composition, its evolution, and its ancient memories from the origins of the solar system.
Oh, there we go. How fantastic is that? And the thing that really strikes me is this spacecraft is shot off from Earth. It's travelled 1.1 billion miles and it's found something just the size of a skyscraper. I mean, that's what you call navigation and good compass work, isn't it? and it's fantastic the detail that it's actually sending back about the rocks, etc. on Bennu. I'm sure we'll hear more about it when it gets back to Earth in a couple of years' time and they start to analyse the sample that's brought back. So, moving on to a new film that is being released on Monday. It captures the images, words, music and sounds that make up our rural landscape from Dorset to Northumberland. At a time of isolation, rural touring schemes up and down the country had to work creatively to continue their connection with rural communities, including Arts Reach, which is a Dorset's own rural touring charity. The enforced pause to holding live events in community venues has given the schemes the opportunity to collaborate on a project designed to explore new ways of enjoying and taking part in artistic practice. And the result of this is a collaboration which is set to premiere online this week on Monday. Armed with their own cameras and smartphones, volunteer promoters who are active as organisers of theatre, concerts and live performances in rural spaces captured sounds, video content from their communities during lockdown. These were stitched together by filmmaker Gemma Waring to create a visual landscape overlaid with music and poetry from artists in each of the participating regions. Gemma has said, "Symphony of the Countryside has been a real journey and the whole process has been very different to how I normally work. It was a bit daunting not being able to storyboard the footage and just having to wait and see what arrived. But I was completely blown away with the quality and diversity of footage that we received. It's just so amazing to have a piece of work that has so many contributors from across the whole country and that really resonates with how the majority of us have connected with nature during these difficult times." Holly Lombardo, director of National Rural Touring Forum, who provided the funding to make this project happen, said, "We wanted to support initiatives that reached communities in lockdown in meaningful and creative ways. We were looking for projects that captured the process of delivering art and culture while supporting artists and those in isolation." The film will be premiered live at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. That's the 26th of October. And after I've shown you a little trailer, I'll give you the website that you can go along to if you are interested in watching it. So if you're interested in watching that live, Symphony of the Countryside as it's called, when it comes out on Monday, the website to go to is www.artsreach.co.uk/projects/symphony-of-the-countryside. So I'll tell you again, www.artsreach.co.uk/projects/symphony-of-the-countryside. I'm sure if you put the search into Google, Arts Reach Symphony of the Countryside, it will come up. But I thought some of you might be interested to see the work that these people have been doing. This week we're approaching Halloween. And Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service are asking us to make you aware about fire safety in respect of Halloween, and in particular safety of the Halloween costumes that we buy this time and particularly dress our children up in, and how dangerous they can be if they get near the lighted flames that we also often have at Halloween, particularly in our pumpkins, of course. So we're going to hear from Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Safety about some Halloween safety.
Hi, I'm Watch Manager Simon Jupp, a fire behaviour instructor with Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service. We're here today to talk about the potential fire risks associated with some children's Halloween costumes. Halloween is associated with candles around the house and in pumpkins. These can pose significant danger to costumes due to the open flames. A safer option would be to use battery-operated candles. So this demonstrates how flammable children's costumes can be and the dangers of open flames. So if the worst does happen and your costume does catch fire, then stop, drop and roll to extinguish the flames. All costumes will burn. However, some have undergone additional flammability tests, meaning that they are slightly safer. So this is an example of a flame retardant costume that's had additional protection. It still melts, but there's less flames. So this demonstrates how flammable children's costumes can be and the dangers of open flames. For more information, please contact our website.
So there we go, that's some fire safety information in the lead up to Halloween from Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue. And I think the things to learn from that video are, if you can buy costumes that are fire retardant, that's obviously better. And you know, those costumes, when they catch fire, it's not just about the flames. You could see it's a polyester type material and you end up with molten plastic. And of course, if you get molten plastic on yourself, it's very difficult to get off when it's hot and in a molten state. But as they said in the video, if you get your clothing catches fire, that you fall to the ground and you roll over and roll over until it goes out. So we're now going to look at the weather for the week ahead. And goodness, that's not too good either, is it? It looks like it's going to be wet most of the week. It's not going to be too warm. However, it does look like possibly Monday to Wednesday we may get some sunny spells in the latest update I got just before I came on the programme today. But it's getting a bit cooler. Definitely those sort of October-y, November-y winter days and nights are setting in. I'm now looking at traffic and travel. Works continue on Commercial Road in Weymouth with the removal of the tram lines, and that goes on to the 13th of November, and that will cause disruption at times as that work goes ahead and various sections of the road are closed. Drivers are also being warned of delays and disruption next week due to road closure, which will mean that motorists face a 6-mile diversion. You'll know that over many weeks I've mentioned the works happening in the Cold Harbour area of Chickerell. But from Monday, a 90-metre stretch of School Hill will be shut completely for 5 days for resurfacing works, line painting and for relocation of lamp posts. Dorset Council will shut a section of the road from the junction at Woodland Way, and the diversion route will see drivers being sent around Weymouth through Radipole and Nottington. So yeah, just be aware of that. On the trains, there are bus replacement services this weekend on Saturday and Sunday between Wareham, Dorchester West and Weymouth. So if you're travelling in either direction, on Great Western towards Bristol or South West Railway towards London, then you will face the use of a rail replacement service on the buses. Now let's move to our What's On section. First of all, on the What's On section, I thought that I would share with you a trailer for the latest Disney Pixar movie, which is premiered recently at the BFI London Film Festival. Disney Pixar is well known for previous animated films such as Up, Toy Story, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, and many, many more, which I'm sure you could roll off your tongues. They're all good family viewing and amazing animations. Soul, their latest film, is a 2020 American computer animated comedy film produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Pixar Animation Studios. It's going to be distributed by Walt Disney Studios, and it's directed by Pete Docter, co-directed by Kent Powers, with screenplay from Dr. Paz and Mike Jones. The film stars the voices of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Questlove, Felicia Rashad, Daveed Diggs and Angela Bassett. Soul was originally intended to be a theatrical release, but now it's going to be digitally released on Disney Plus on December the 25th. The film received acclaim from critics who praised it for the animation, the story, the voice acting and the music. For those of us that don't have Disney Plus, we'll just have to wait until it's available on DVD or on another subscription channel we have. What I am sure, like all Disney Pixar movies, it will be well worth the wait to see it. See what you think from the trailer.
What is this place?
What's your name, honey?
I'm Joe. I teach middle school band. Got it, go for it! Today started out as the best day of my life.
Back here tonight, first show's at 7.
Yes! Woohoo! You know what that's gonna say? Joe Gardner. I did it, I got the gig.
Must have been sudden for you.
What? Oh my goodness, help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness! Huh? Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth.
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to.
Hey, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life, like pizza. I can't smell. We can't taste either?
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it. Wow, it's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
That's weird.
What is it?
151,000 souls go into the great beyond every day, and I count every single one of them. The count's off.
Huh.
There we go. Originally intended to be out in the summer in June, but now being released on the 25th of December. Now, many of the events I've been mentioning in previous weeks are all just about to happen coming up in October and November. So I'll just flick through them, but I'm not going to go into the detail that I've done before. Just to remind you that this week and into next weekend that the Nothe Fort has various family Halloween activities. That Weymouth Pavilion has the complete works of William Shakespeare on the 1st of November. And on the 1st of November at the Nothe Fort, the Dorset Food and Drink pop-up Christmas market will be there. On the 2nd of November, Weymouth Pavilion has the Strictly Come Dancing champion siblings Kevin and Joanne Clifton there for a socially distanced audience. And on the 6th of November, Weymouth Pavilion has Genesis Connected, a tribute show celebrating the hits of Genesis and others. Now, something new that some of you may have picked up on the 8th of November will be Remembrance Sunday. And many people on Remembrance Sunday go to remembrance events at the local war memorials. and there usually are events at the Weymouth Main War Memorial, at Wyke, and at Portland. Unfortunately, this year things are having to be a bit different because people can't gather in large groups. So gatherings at war memorials are not happening, and the local authority has cancelled all the public events. Just to let you know, in Wyke, we will be marking the occasion with an appropriate online broadcast at 10 to 11 on Remembrance Sunday, the 8th of November, on all our normal channels, including where you are watching us this evening. It's a short 20-minute online event that will reflect what normally happens on Remembrance Sunday and enable you to join from your homes and to be with other people in their homes at the same time where we can't be together at the War Memorial. Obviously, this year has also hit the Royal British Legion hard financially, who rely on Remembrance Sunday and the sale of poppies as a major income stream for them as a charity to support those that have suffered in our services and times of conflict. So I would ask, please do remember the Royal British Legion at this time. They do have a very good online shop where you can purchase poppy products, as in brooches and things, not other types of poppy products that you may have thought I meant, but things like brooches and fundraising items. So please do support them at this time. Also, to remind you that the Pavilion will be having a That'll Be the Day Christmas show on the 6th of December. And of course, all of the things at the Pavilion and the Noth Fort, you can find out details on their websites. Now, to give you an advance notice of something that we're going to be doing over the Christmas and New Year period, we're hoping to put on some mini pantos for you. This has come up following an idea that we found out about, produced by a local Weymouth man called Ian Campbell. Ian has produced a number of scripts called mini pantos, and the idea is that a small group of people, 6 or 7, can get together without too much preparation, with some costumes, with some scripts, and produce a short panto to put out to friends and the community. And we've come across it this week, and we've spoken to Ian, and Ian has kindly shared with us all of his scripts. And I've called out for some volunteers and already got about 10 people who want to join in and produce some pantos, which we'll record and then publish the dates that we're going to broadcast them and put them out over the Christmas and New Year period for those that like to watch them. What I would say is we are very grateful to Ian and his kindness for supplying the scripts to us free so that we can do this for you. He normally charges £20 a script, which is well worth the cost. And what I would say is if you're part of a community group, Scouts, Guides, WI, whatever, maybe you'd like to think about buying one or more of Ian's scripts and trying to put these on for your organisation. You can buy the scripts yourself. You don't need to be any experts at doing anything. You just need to have a few keen people who are willing to give it a go. If you want to buy the scripts, you can go along to Ian's website, which is www.minipantos.com, and you can buy them and download them from there. And I'm sure you'll have some fun, like we're going to have some fun doing it. Of course, if any of you out there are listening and would like to get involved with our attempt at these pantos, my details are now up on the screen. Do drop me an email, do give me a phone call, and you'll be most welcome to join in with us and having some fun and hopefully doing something useful for the community in White Regis, Weymouth and beyond over the Christmas and New Year period. As we come to the end of today's show, then let me remind you that if you're interested, that All Saints Church does have its communion service tomorrow morning at 9:30, and that will also be live streamed. And at 11 o'clock there'll be a service at St Edmund's Church at Lane House. Also services at 5 p.m. on Tuesday in All Saints Church and 10:30 Wednesday morning for Holy Communion again. This evening, of course, at 7:30 we have our live Saturday evening quiz. And that's open to anybody. Anybody can join us. You don't have to be members of any groups or communities. It's open for anybody to join in and have some fun with us on all of our normal channels. Finally, of course, if you've got any news stories, any local events coming up, or fundraising efforts or anything else that you want to share with us, or of course if you're celebrating a birthday or other special occasion, we want to hear from you. The details are above, the same details for everything. Drop me an email, give me a phone call during the week, and share your story, your news, your birthday with me, and we can give them a mention in next week's programme. So I thought, as we finish this evening, I would leave you with a short piece from the Royal British Legion about this year's Poppy Appeal, which, of course, as we move it in the last 2 weeks before Remembrance Sunday. So I'll leave you with the Royal British Legion, and I will look forward to being with you again at the same time, 6 p.m. next Saturday evening.
Once again, a form of war has taught us who we are. Young and old, rich and poor, backgrounds, cultures, generations. Once again, in this silent war, together, we are one nation. Once again, we will wear with pride a nation's thanks for those who've died. A people's thanks to those who care, whose sense of duty never errs.